It was the coldest night of winter when Hannah's life quietly shifted in a way she never saw coming. Snow blanketed the city like a heavy silence, muffling the sounds of traffic and life outside her brownstone apartment. She had just returned from a long, exhausting shift at the marketing agency where she worked as a senior coordinator, overworked, underpaid, and buried under the weight of deadlines she didn't create but always had to meet. She was fumbling with her keys, her mind clouded with stress and fatigue, when she noticed them, huddled by the doorstep next to hers. A man, maybe in his early 30s, holding a small blonde girl, no older than 4. The man's hair was wet with snow, his gray sweater clinging to his frame, and his eyes held a quiet desperation. He looked up at her, not asking for anything, just silently bracing against the cold as he wrapped his arms tighter around the sleeping child in his lap. If you believe in the power of kindness, in second chances, and in doing the right thing even when it's inconvenient, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps keep these stories alive and spreading light in the world. Hannah hesitated only for a second. She had always told herself she wasn't the type to get involved, especially not in strangers' business. But something in the little girl's flushed cheeks, her tiny boots dusted with snow, and the way the man was clearly trying to shield her with his own body, it all pierced through Hannah's exhaustion. Without thinking too hard about consequences, she simply said, "You can come in, just for a bit. Warm up." The man didn't say much. He looked surprised, almost uncertain, before nodding and carrying the little girl inside with quiet gratitude. Hannah gave them space, letting the man sit by the heater while she grabbed a towel and poured some hot chocolate. He looked like someone who hadn't asked for help in a long time. His name, she would later learn, was Daniel. And the girl, sweet and sleepy, was Lily. That night changed something in her. She didn't mean to let them stay longer than a few hours, but the storm worsened. Trains shut down. Roads iced over. And when morning came, Lily had a slight fever, and Daniel looked like he hadn't slept in days. Against her usual instincts, Hannah offered them breakfast, then a blanket for a nap, then, just one more night. And soon, just one night, turned into 3. She learned bits and pieces about them over coffee and quiet meals. Daniel was a widower. His wife had passed away 2 years ago in a tragic car accident, leaving him alone with a 6-month-old daughter. Since then, he'd been trying to rebuild. He'd moved cities, left behind his tech startup, and had been applying for work non-stop. They'd been staying in cheap motels, eating out of vending machines, and barely making it day to day. Daniel was bright, kind, articulate, and clearly trying so hard not to let the weight of the world crush him. It didn't make sense to Hannah why a man like him would be so down on his luck. He seemed too intelligent, too responsible, too good. But life wasn't fair, and she knew that better than anyone. Hannah had grown up watching her own single mom scrape together rent while working 2 jobs. She'd always carried that invisible pressure with her: be independent, don't ask for help, never let anyone see you break. Maybe that's why she was so quick to offer Daniel shelter. Maybe deep down, she saw herself in Lily, and her mother in the quiet strength Daniel carried in silence. 3 days turned to 4. Lily's fever passed. Daniel offered to fix her broken sink as thanks. Then he helped reorganize her tiny storage closet. He read bedtime stories to Lily on her couch while Hannah quietly worked nearby, feeling oddly comforted by the soft hum of domesticity she hadn't realized she missed. Something began to grow in that small space. It wasn't romance, at least not yet, but it was something gentler, more grounding. A shared understanding. 2 souls caught in the same storm, finding momentary shelter in each other's presence. But everything shifted on Monday morning. Hannah had an important meeting that day. The agency had been acquired by a new parent company, and the entire team was to be introduced to the new CEO during an in-person session. She rushed into work, still thinking about whether she should offer Daniel a little cash for groceries or maybe help him find a short-term rental. But the moment the conference room doors opened and the new CEO walked in, every thought dissolved from her mind. It was Daniel. In a tailored black suit, hair neatly styled, Lily nowhere in sight, he looked like a completely different man. The entire room stood in silent shock as he confidently approached the front, greeted the board, and began his presentation. Hannah sat frozen. Her breath caught in her chest. What was happening? How was this possible? Daniel, no, Mr. Daniels, as he introduced himself, was apparently a former tech executive who had recently acquired the agency under a new corporate initiative. His speech was elegant, decisive, and full of vision. He talked about restructuring, about company culture, and about the need for empathy-driven leadership in a post-pandemic world. Hannah stared at him, struggling to reconcile the man in front of her with the one who had been making mac and cheese in her kitchen the night before. After the meeting, their eyes met in the hallway. He looked at her with the same soft gratitude, the same quiet strength, but now with something else. A hint of apology. An awareness of what this might mean. He asked to speak with her privately, and in that small glass-walled office, he explained everything. He hadn't meant to deceive her. In fact, he had deliberately avoided telling her his background because he needed, to know what it felt like to receive kindness without status, without money, without power. After losing his wife and nearly losing himself, he'd spent months undercover in his own world, wanting to see who people truly were. Hannah had been the first person in a long time to offer him anything without expecting something back. He offered her a promotion that day, not out of pity, but because he had seen her dedication, her heart, and her ability to lead even under pressure. But Hannah was overwhelmed. She didn't know if she was angry or confused, grateful or hurt. She just needed time. Over the next few weeks, she distanced herself. She kept things professional, nodding in meetings, avoiding personal conversations. But Daniel respected her space. He didn't push. He continued his work quietly, and Hannah couldn't help but notice how his leadership changed the company. He implemented flexible hours, increased wages, added mental health resources, and listened to everyone, from interns to senior staff, with the same humility she had seen when he sat on her doorstep in the snow. And slowly, something in her softened. She began talking to Lily again, visiting her after hours, sharing little meals and gentle laughter. Eventually, Hannah allowed herself to feel again. To believe in second chances, not just for others, but for herself. Because Daniel may have walked into her life needing shelter, but somewhere along the way, she realized she had needed it too. She had needed a reminder that the world still held good men. That kindness didn't go unnoticed. That sometimes, the most extraordinary people arrive in the most ordinary moments. By spring, Hannah and Daniel were no longer just co-workers. They were building something deeper, something rooted in truth, in shared history, and in the quiet strength of two people who had both known loss, but never gave up on life. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that love, kindness, and second chances are real, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us keep telling stories that matter. Speech balloon special request: before you go, please leave a comment. Have you ever helped someone without knowing who they really were? Or has someone ever helped you when you needed it most? We'd love to hear your story.